one thing I have to say at the beginning, that I really enjoyed working with Gary. And what I enjoyed about Gary most was his energy and imagination and his sense of fun. And Gary was interested not only in business, in textiles, and furnishings, but he was really very interesting in my love of arts. And I think when we were together in New York, and I'm not sure whether we met in Europe, but he met artists that were friends and that we worked with. I'm sure he met Christo and Jean-Claude. Not sure if he met Sol Lloyd, he may have, but he was very interested in exhibitions that we went to see together. And I really enjoyed sharing my interest, my passion with contemporary art with Gary.
Well, it was early days of the company. And in those days we were called Fabrics Materialised. I can't remember when it was changed. And it was a small group of us, I think only about 6. So it was like a small family. We all did everything, including rolling, measuring off orders and rolling them up and packing them up, when the guy who didn't do that wasn't around. So it was a small family, as I said before, with Robin running around looking after us all.
Hi, Gary, and congratulations to you. We're so happy that we got to know you during our time at Krypton, and that we know you in our life, and Bindi and your family, and that we actually got to come and see your home and your place. Anyway, you've been one of the highlights of our career. So thank you for letting us into this video, Catherine, and we're really excited to tell the story about Gary.
Actually, what was really interesting, we had been in business, I think it was 2 years, and we went to Brussels to Decaset. And I had a friend of mine, Arnie Mazarski, I think his name was. Anyway, he was at Rich Loom Fabrics, and he said, have you ever met Gary Price? And we said, no, who's Gary Price? And he says, oh, well, he's from Australia, and he could be a really good customer. So he set up a meeting, and they were staying at the Sheraton Hotel in Brussels. And we met Gary, and we went upstairs to his room, and we showed him the fabric that we were making. And he says, well, I could buy that. And he actually became our very first export customer in our entire business.
And we sold white fabric,
yeah.
And he was
printing it.
So when Krypton started, now it's a lot of velvets and all kinds of wovens and things like that. But when we first started, it was a heat transfer product. And so we sent white fabric over, and Gary would create these amazing designs, none of which we could get in our country because we were too poor to get the designs. I mean, we started in the basement of our house. So there's Gary, and he's in Australia, and he's just showing us, the most beautiful things that weren't obtainable to him.
I remember when he bought his first printer it was in Blakehurst. Before that, he was in Petersham. I used to visit him in Petersham for samples, and I remember when he bought his first printer, he was very proud to show it off, because before that he was getting things printed by contract printers around the place, Botany and other places, and he had to buy his paper in, and that was a big innovation in the industry, because if we wanted to have 4 colours in 2 designs, we would have to buy from America the printed cloth and have a couple of 100 metres of each colour and each design sitting there waiting for someone to come and buy it. When the sublostatic printed starting, and Gary really took it to another level, he just had to hold paper in colour, which was a lot cheaper, and different base cloths. And all of a sudden, instead of having one base cloth, you've got upholsteries, and he's developed it into light bedspread fabrics and cushioning fabrics, etc., etc. He's even gone to printing blockouts now, which is very, very clever. never a dull moment, I put it in there. It's a crazy industry we're in. It's governed by a lot of fads and trends and different design needs. And Gary always seems to be a step ahead. He came out with his acoustic fabrics, and then the nursing homes want quiet, calming places. And he already had it sitting on the shelf ready to go, half the price of what you can get it from Europe. His acoustic panelling has been used in that industry and in commercial industries because people now want it. And given the current 1 in 100 year pandemic we're struggling through right now, we're already selling his antimicrobial treatments on fabrics. One step ahead of the game.
It was just a love affair, and every year we would see him, and then he would bring Bindi after a few years. I guess she got out of diapers by then.
But then Bindi would go on a shopping spree and buy 100 pair of shoes. It was like she was the queen of shoes every show. And Gary and Bindi would come to this big show it was in Las Vegas called Hospitality Design. And the one thing I can tell for certain about Gary is that he does his homework. He knew more about what was happening in this country. He knew more about what jobbers were doing. He knew everything that was going on, and it was even prior to the internet. I mean, this guy figured out who was on first, who was on second, who was on home. I mean, he really knew that. And so anyway, amazing sense of taste, amazing sense of humor, just a wonderful human being that is such a good friend, and just a wonderful family.
He was also very good in promoting. I remember we had some kind of promotion in our furnishings, and he did something with paper bags. I can't remember, brown paper bags. I don't remember what he did, but it sticks in my mind that it was very imaginative. And Gary is one of the few people that I worked with in the rag trade that I kept in touch with. And over the years, he's been very helpful on projects and on advice that he could help us. And I'm so pleased that Materialised has become such success. And to celebrate 40 years is a great achievement, and I hope it will continue for many more years to come. So to Gary, I wish a very happy 40th anniversary and all the very, very best, and the fondest regards to Gary and to his family.
Gary was always so forward-thinking, creative, and he had a way of bonding people together. As I say, we were like a family. He and Robin saw me through when my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. He was compassionate, or is compassionate. Sorry, I haven't seen him for so long. It was through him that I had my first trip to the United States, and I blame him for me falling in love with an American. Not through him, but I must have fallen in love with America then. So here I am, a dual citizen, and I just think it's so wonderful. I can't believe it's 40 years, and I'm so thrilled that Materialised has materialised into this wonderful thing, including things like Florence Broadhurst, who I had to do with way back when I first graduated as interior designer. I used to go and see her to get things printed, and it's like full circle.
Our hearts are off to him. Congratulations to Gary, to the entire Materialised family, and we just wish you well, and hopefully as we get through this pandemic, things will get better for everyone.
Hopefully we'll see you.
Yep.
Unmasked as we are, congratulations, we love you, and thank you for being everything to us.
Other thing that Gary's been a role model to me in is the way he's integrated his family into the business. Really good role model as far as family businesses go, which is what we have here. When I started my business 17 years ago, Gary congratulated me, offered any assistance I required, and he said, someone told me years ago, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Typical Gary. But it's so true. It's been my mantra ever since, and I thank him for it.